The courtroom was silent except for the faint scratching of pens and the echo of footsteps across the polished wooden floor. Sunlight streamed through the tall courtroom windows, filling the room with bright daytime light that made every expression impossible to hide. Everyone turned as a quiet woman in a beige coat and deep burgundy scarf walked inside carrying nothing more than a simple leather folder. She looked calm, almost invisible, yet the judge sitting high above the courtroom glanced at her with a smug smile. Within seconds, that smile turned into laughter, and a few people in the gallery nervously joined in, believing she had wandered into the wrong courtroom. None of them knew that the next 60 seconds would become the most unforgettable moment of their careers, exposing pride, prejudice, and the true meaning of justice. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, respect, and second chances matter more than appearances, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Beyond the Verdict. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories like this every week. The woman was named Marina Ellis, a respected legal scholar whose calm confidence had been shaped by decades of hard work rather than public attention. She had spent most of her life believing that true authority never needed to announce itself. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, Marina watched her mother work double shifts while her father taught children in a small public school. They taught her that dignity was something nobody could give or take away. Every obstacle she faced became another reason to study harder, serve others better, and never allow bitterness to replace compassion. On that bright morning, Marina had chosen to enter the courthouse without security, official vehicles, or public announcements. She wanted to quietly observe how justice was being administered in ordinary courtrooms. Rumors had reached the highest levels of the judicial system that some judges had begun treating people differently based on appearance, wealth, or social status. Marina believed reports on paper could never replace seeing the truth with her own eyes. When she approached the clerk's desk, several attorneys barely noticed her. A few whispered assumptions that she must be another confused visitor. The presiding judge, Harold Whitmore, was known for his sharp legal mind but also for an ego that often overshadowed his wisdom. As Marina politely introduced herself and requested permission to observe the proceedings, Whitmore leaned back in his chair with an amused grin. Instead of welcoming a citizen into the public courtroom, he made light of her appearance, suggesting that important legal matters were not a place for people who looked like ordinary spectators. Quiet laughter spread through the room. Some people lowered their eyes in embarrassment while others watched curiously, sensing something unusual beneath Marina's calm expression. Marina never raised her voice. She never showed anger. Instead, she slowly opened her leather folder and presented an official identification along with a signed authorization from the nation's highest judicial office. For a brief moment, nobody understood what they were seeing. The clerk's eyes widened first. Then the bailiff froze. Within seconds, every face in the courtroom lost its color as the realization spread from one person to another like a silent wave. The woman standing before them was not a visitor seeking permission to observe. She was Justice Marina Ellis, one of the newest members of the Supreme Court, conducting an unannounced inspection authorized under a national judicial review program. She had come not to punish people, but to understand whether every citizen truly received equal respect before the law. Judge Whitmore's confident smile disappeared instantly. His shoulders sank as the weight of his own behavior settled over the courtroom. The same people who had laughed moments earlier now stood completely still, overwhelmed by embarrassment. Yet Marina did something nobody expected. She thanked the courtroom staff for their service and calmly explained that what concerned her most was not the mistake of failing to recognize her identity. The true concern was how quickly respect had been replaced by mockery simply because someone appeared ordinary. Her words echoed through the courtroom more powerfully than any shouted argument ever could. She reminded everyone that every person entering those doors carried invisible battles. Some came seeking justice after losing loved ones. Others arrived frightened, confused, or financially broken. If dignity depended upon expensive suits, famous names, or official titles, then justice itself had already failed. As the hearing continued, Marina quietly observed every interaction. She noticed how clerks greeted elderly visitors more warmly after witnessing what had happened. Lawyers who had ignored nervous defendants earlier now spoke with greater patience. Even the bailiffs treated every individual with renewed courtesy. The atmosphere of the courtroom changed, not because people feared punishment, but because they had been reminded of the responsibility they carried each day. Judge Whitmore later requested a private opportunity to apologize. Marina accepted with grace. She explained that genuine accountability begins when people choose growth instead of excuses. She believed the legal system became stronger not when judges appeared perfect, but when they possessed the humility to learn from their failures. That conversation would become a turning point in Whitmore's career. Over the following years, attorneys and court employees noticed a remarkable transformation. He became known not for arrogance, but for patience, fairness, and respect toward everyone who stood before him. News of the quiet inspection eventually spread throughout the legal community. Training programs began using the incident to remind future judges that justice is measured long before a verdict is announced. It begins with the first greeting, the first expression, and the first opportunity to show another human being dignity. Marina left the courthouse the same way she had entered it, walking alone beneath the bright afternoon sky. No cameras followed her. No reporters waited outside. She smiled softly, believing that the greatest victories are often the ones few people ever witness. She had not come to embarrass anyone. She had come to restore something far more valuable than reputation, the simple belief that every person deserves respect before anyone knows their title. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who believes in fairness, and subscribe to Beyond the Verdict so together we can continue spreading stories that remind the world compassion is stronger than prejudice. Speech balloon special request, comment below with, respect comes before titles, if you believe every person deserves kindness, no matter who they are or how they look. Sometimes the most powerful people enter a room without announcing themselves. The greatest judges are not recognized by their robes, their titles, or the seats they occupy, but by the respect they show to every human being. In the end, justice was never about who stood above the courtroom. It was always about how every soul who entered it was treated. And on that unforgettable day, one quiet woman reminded everyone that true greatness always walks hand in hand with humility.